3 times in a single country, the same silent woman of light standing on the roof of a church above a cross. In 1968, then again in 2000, and once more in 2009, the Virgin Mary appeared over Egypt. And not to a single visionary in secret. Hundreds of thousands of people saw her out in the open street. The government tried to prove it was a trick. They cut the power for 15 miles. The light stayed. They evacuated an entire neighborhood at night. The light only burned brighter. Muslims saw her. Christians saw her. The newspapers photographed her. And in all 3 apparitions across more than 40 years, she never spoke a single word. The question almost no one stops to ask is the most important one of all. Why Egypt? And why 3 times? Stay with me, because the answer is hidden in a flight that happened 2,000 years ago and in 3 dates that no one wants to line up. It began on the night of April 2nd, 1968, in the Cairo suburb of Zeitoun. A Muslim mechanic named Farooq Muhammad Atwa looked up and saw a woman standing on the dome of the Coptic Church of St. Mary. He thought she was about to jump and shouted for her to stop. Then the crowd understood what they were looking at, a figure of pure light, moving, praying, outlined against the cross. Over the next 3 years, an estimated 1 million people saw her. Al-Ahram, the oldest and most respected newspaper in Egypt, sent its photographers and published the images. State television filmed it, and when the police suspected a hidden projector, they searched the area and ordered the power cut for 15 miles around the church. The apparition continued. There was nothing left for the light to come from. Now ask yourself when all of this happened. In June 1967, Egypt had just suffered a crushing, humiliating defeat in the Six-Day War. The nation was in shock, in mourning, terrified of what was coming next. And it was into that darkness, less than a year later, that the Mother of God appeared, silent and shining, night after night. The Coptic Pope Kyrillos VI investigated, and on May 5, 1968, he officially declared the apparitions authentic. Even Egypt's Ministry of Tourism issued its own confirmation and began printing pamphlets. A Muslim-majority government publicly admitted that the Virgin Mary was appearing over a Christian church. That detail alone should stop you in your tracks. But here is what almost no one tells you. Zeitoun was only the first time. Let's jump ahead 32 years, 300 miles to the south, to the city of Assiut. On the night of August 17, 2000, the sky above the Coptic Church of St. Mark lit up. Witnesses described a luminous figure of the Virgin moving between the 2 towers, surrounded by enormous white doves, while the air filled with the scent of incense. Thousands of people gathered every night for months, all the way into January 2001. And once again, the authorities tried to expose a hoax. They cut the power to the entire area. The lights came back, untouched. So they went further. They evacuated the whole zone from 10 at night until 6 in the morning, allowing no one near the church. The lights returned stronger than ever. And then it happened a 3rd time. December 11, 2009, on an island in the Nile called Warraq in Greater Cairo. The very first person to see the light was, once again, a Muslim. A man sitting at a cafe across from the Church of the Virgin Mary and the Archangel Michael. Within days, more than 200,000 people, Christians and Muslims together, had gathered. And this time, the witnesses had something the witnesses of 1968 never had: phones. They filmed her, though sadly the quality of the footage was still poor. For the first time, one of these apparitions ended up in the phones, in the videos, on the internet. 3 apparitions. 41 years. The same country, the same silence of the Madonna, and the same crowds of 2 faiths staring up at the same light. So now we have to take the question seriously. Why does the Mother of God keep returning to Egypt? The first answer is the oldest one. Open the Gospel of Matthew chapter 2. When King Herod set out to kill every child in Bethlehem, an angel told Joseph to take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt. Of all the nations on earth, Egypt is the one country that hid Jesus from a king who wanted him dead. It protected him. It kept him alive. And the 3 places she chose to appear are not random dots on a map. They lie along the traditional route the Holy Family walked. Assiut, in fact, is remembered as the farthest south they reached, the place where they stayed the longest. So look at what is really happening. 2,000 years later, the mother who once carried her son into Egypt to save his life is returning to the only land that ever gave them refuge. The second answer is in the dates, and this is where it stops feeling like a coincidence. Zeitoun came right after the trauma of the 1967 war. Assiut came as violence against Egypt's Christians was rising sharply across the south. And Warraq? It appeared in December 2009. And just weeks later, in January 2010, gunmen opened fire on the Coptic Christians leaving Christmas Eve Mass in Nag Hammadi. A year after that, a church in Alexandria was blown apart. Then came the revolution, the burned churches, the martyrs. Line the 3 apparitions up against the suffering of the Copts, and a pattern emerges that is almost startling to see. She does not appear after the tragedy to comfort the survivors. She appears before it, as if to say, "I am here. I know what is coming. You will not face it alone." Which brings us to the strangest detail of all, the one that sets Egypt apart from every famous apparition you have ever heard of. At Lourdes, Mary gave a name. At Fatima, she gave secrets, warnings, a prophecy, the miracle of the sun. But in Egypt, in all 3 apparitions across 41 years, she said nothing, not one word. She only stood there, above the cross, inside the light. Why the silence? Think about where she was standing. In Egypt, openly preaching the gospel to your Muslim neighbor can cost you your freedom or your life. So she does not preach. She does not argue. She simply appears, in the open sky, where a Muslim mechanic and a Coptic grandmother see exactly the same thing in the same instant. In a land divided by religion, her silence becomes the message. She does not preach, she does not accuse, and she does not divide. She shows herself. And that presence unites Christians and Muslims, because Mary does not belong to Christian memory alone. She is honored in Islam too, where the Quran calls her Maryam and presents her as a pure woman chosen by God. And there is one more layer, written long before any of this, 700 years before Christ was born. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, the prophet says, "The Lord rides on a swift cloud and comes to Egypt." He speaks of an altar to the Lord in the very heart of the land of Egypt. And he records a promise that astonished the ancient world. "Blessed be Egypt, my people." The Coptic Church has guarded those words for centuries, convinced that their land carries a calling few others understand. Whether you read it as prophecy or as providence, the alignment is hard to dismiss. The one nation singled out by Isaiah as blessed, the one nation that gave refuge to the Christ child, is the same nation where his mother has now appeared, out in the open, 3 times within living memory. And here it is, at last, the whole picture, all connected. 3 apparitions, in a nation that once saved her son. 3 moments, each one on the edge of a storm. And a single message, repeated without a single word: "You have not been forgotten." The crowds of Zeitoun, of Assiut, of Warraq were not given a prophecy to decode. They were given something simpler and far harder to ignore: the sight of their own mother, standing above the cross, refusing to leave them in the dark. Maybe that is the real reason she keeps returning to Egypt, not to explain, to stay. If this touched you, take her message from Egypt and make it your own. Write it in the comments and pray it tonight for everyone still living in the dark. Mother of Light, protect us and light up our nights. Share this video, And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. God bless us all.